Good day, everyone. I'm David Paul. I'm the Managing Director of VectorVest in the UK. And at VectorVest, we find undervalued shares that are growing their earnings safely and strongly, that are rising, and we want to buy those shares into a general market that's rising. And in the first slide, the founder of VectorVest says so beautifully that being on the wrong side of the market is the worst thing can happen to any investor, and it doesn't have to happen to you, because I firmly believe that 70% of the exercise is knowing whether the overall market is rising or falling. Everything follows from that. And in the next slide, I show the UK market with our longest measure of the trend. That's over the last year. And the little red triangle that you can see at the left of the chart, the top left of the chart, that was a sell signal last October, which lasted into Christmas, January of this year, 2019. We then had a nice run up until May, a little bit of turbulence, another run up into August, and since the first week of August, the longest term measure of the trend in the UK is down. And as we go into the trading day today, both the short-term trend, which is not on this chart, and the longer-term trend, which is on the chart, is pointing down. So VectorVest advocates not to be buying shares at this time. Markets are like ourselves, they breathe in and they breathe out. And at the moment, the UK market and the American market are showing that the market is breathing out. And sooner or later, there'll be another buying signal, but not yet. And all we can do is to focus in the present moment and just simply follow what the program tells us to do. As many traders find, doing nothing is much more difficult than it would seem, but it's one of the tricks of the exercise. At VectorVest, we put a value, we put a safety of earnings, and we put a measure of the trend to every stock in the market every single day. And in the next slide, I've put together a uni-search which looks for a very safe combination of the VectorVest metrics. Now, in this search, which is a standard search, I've looked for shares that are above 50 pence, that have got a reasonable daily volume, that are not on AIM, where the relative value, now the relative value is a measure of the price appreciation potential in relation to a AAA rated corporate bond, and I'm looking for stocks that are going to outperform a corporate bond. And I'm sorting those stocks by the VectorVest proprietary measure relative safety. Now, relative safety finds stocks that are growing their earnings safely and that have a safe track record of making money over the last 5 or 6 years. Now, the performance of these stocks has been incredibly good during the course of 2019. And as I showed you, for most of 2019, we've been in a very good market indeed. Now, in the next slide, I show the performance of the top 5, and the top 5 stocks have outperformed the market significantly. The general market is up 10%, and the top 5 from that search are up well over 30%. So a significant improvement over the general market itself. So that's the past. I'm holding most of those shares myself. But I ran the search yesterday to see what shares the uni-search would have come up with if we were starting now. But we would not be buying these shares today or tomorrow because the general market, in fact, is falling. We would have to wait for the general market to turn up before we could tick all the boxes. And the following shares came up, the top 5 as well. In the next slide, the first share that came up is a share that was in the uni-search in January, and that's JD Sports. And JD Sports has moved up strongly since January, as you can see. The blue line underneath the price plot is earnings per share growth, and earnings per share growth moving up strongly. The share is moving sideways in what technicians refer to as a tight flag pattern. And although it's on a hold recommendation on VectorVest at the moment, it looks to me as if it wants to break up through that as soon as the general market starts to move again. It's gone flat when the general market has been falling strongly, that's invariably a good sign. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that share move towards the £9 level over the next 18 months or so. So that looks good. The second share, I'm holding that share myself. The second share is Marshalls. Now, Marshalls has done exceptionally well. Nice move up the page over the last few months. It's gone sideways and it's breaking back up the page again. Looks very strong to me, making a series of rising bottoms. Now, what's really, really interesting is that the last bottom that was charted a few days ago is significantly higher than the previous tops. And that invariably means that there is a fast trend at work. And that was, in fact, the definition of a fast trend was first put down in paper by Charles Dow way back in 1880. So that looks as if momentum is accelerating in Marshalls. The next chart, this is Diploma. It's a share that I'm holding myself, and the share has moved sideways. As you can see, it's charting a series of rising bottoms. The last bottom, in fact, happened exactly at the previous old top, and it's on a buy recommendation. I think when the general market turns, this has got another leg up. This is a very special company, Diploma. Earnings per share rising strongly as well. In the next slide, I really like this chart of Hardens joinery. The share hasn't really done much over the last 5 years, but it's charted what technicians refer to as a huge cup and handle pattern, and would seem to have broken out of that, and the upside target in Hardens is quite impressive. So that's a share that I think should be looked at, and looked at when the general market rights itself. And the last of the top 5 from this search is Bellway, and I've been holding Bellway personally. As you can see from the vote in 2016, it sold off like pretty much every other building stock. We then had that nice run up. It pulled back in a flag, and those of you that are chartists will see the 5 waves within the flag. The low point from the flag was a 62% retracement of the big range up the page, which always tells me when a market stops at fib levels that there's very smart money at work. It broke the flag, it's come back and kissed it, and it's now moving up the page. It's on a buy recommendation, and that share significantly undervalued in VectorVest, growing earnings strongly, and that's one of our top 5. Now, if you would want to learn how to find these shares and many, many more for yourself, then I'm holding a seminar on the 21st of September in central London. It's on a Saturday afternoon. I'll show you how to find these shares. I'll show you how to actually fast track your investments in the UK's safest shares. And folks, don't avoid risk. Manage it. Manage it in about 10 minutes an evening. So if you go to vectorvest.co.uk and look on UK events, you can register for that seminar. I'll look forward to meeting you. Thank you very much.